Top story.
I still don't know what to think. I am puzzled at everything that has happened related to this topic.
When our state's capital, out of the 10 legislative bills, only one successfully made it out of the House's Committee on Natural Resources, and the topic of all of them were focused on the limiting development of carbon capture sequestration projects in Louisiana. Our Rob LaPearl caught the reactions of leaders on both sides of the topic.
And I thank you all for taking the time to coming down to the Capitol and being able to voice your opinion on these important matters.
At Louisiana's Capitol, lawmakers hosted discussions and testimonial hearings for several hours, all focused on the topic of carbon capture sequestration. And out of the 10 bills on the agenda, with topics ranging from eminent domain to public safety, 2 were deferred, 7 were shot down, and only 1 secured successful passage out of the committee. And in the eyes of President Tommy Fouché, with the Louisiana Mid-Continent Oil and Gas Association, the reasoning behind the committee's decisions is
a lot of the legislation that was proposed this session would add a lot of red tape, and that's not what we want for industry. Quite honestly, I think what we want is smart regulation. I think the committee recognizes that there's great opportunity for Louisiana from an economic standpoint, which will bring new investment, new jobs, new economic opportunities for communities who embrace CCS.
But Vernon Parish's state representative, Charles Chuck Owen, argues that stricter regulations are necessary.
As far as red tape, look, this is what you have government for. You have government to play referee in moments like this. We have to have a free and a fair market. But when markets cease to be fair and things are done outside the bounds of propriety, that's when government needs to be able to step in and say, okay, let everyone get a fair shake here.
And Representative Owen had his own legislative horse in the race, with one of his own bills being shut down, one that would have allowed parishes to opt out of CCS projects, giving, in Owen's words, a voice to the locals.
I am stunned that someone would be worried about red tape when the argument going in is let people decide for themselves. That was my only point.
A stark issue for those in opposition to the projects are centered around property rights and the risk to environmental health. But some scientists and industry leaders argue that CCS projects can be done safely, and bills like Owen's could severely impact the state's economy.
A lot of what we were seeing in legislation this year actually was trying to do something that already exists. And that just makes it more cumbersome and is not an inviting condition for new business. Just as the traditional oil and gas industry for 100 years has continued to improve communities because of economic benefits and investment, CCS is going to do much of the same, and quite honestly, in communities that haven't had that before.
But the one bill that did make it through the committee, authored by Vernon Parish's state senator Mike Reese, requires, quote, substantial consideration of local government comments when determining the appropriate course of action in a CCS matter that requires a public hearing. And while Fouché understands the intent of the bill, he worries it could still limit the industry.
I would say that I believe there's also a very open public comment process that is in place now. That being said, we really need the public to be engaged in this conversation and to participate in these processes. But we need to just be smart and make sure that we're not making it impossible to just move the process forward by adding redundant layers of regulation.
But while Owen believes it's a step in the right direction, in his eyes, that bill alone is not enough for his residents.
It appears there is a target on Vernon Parish to make it the state's waste site for carbon capture. That is my estimation at this moment, and that is patently not fair. House Bill 250 and 251 will be heard next week. Those are bills that are specific to Vernon and Beauregard. I will make this case again to a different set of legislators. The law will be slightly different, but just to single Vernon Parish out and say, if my citizens don't want it, they don't have to have it.